morning. Buenos dias. I am Clarice Suchy, a Teresian sister living in San Antonio, Texas, in the United States. I was born here in the U.S., in Georgia, and grew up in New York. And I met the sisters as a volunteer teacher in Uvalde, Texas, after I finished college. And the rest is history. Today, we're continuing our presentations on our foundresses, and I have the honor and the privilege of sharing with you a little bit about Teresa de Jesus Blanch. Teresa de Jesus Blanch Breto is the fourth foundress of the Society of Saint Teresa of Jesus. She was born in Godal, Tarragona on January 14th, 1854, and that is close to Tortosa. She grew up in a Christian family and was a young woman of great faith and devotion. In 1873, her pastor, Father Augustin Roses, invited Father Henry de Osso to speak to the young women of the parish. Father Henry was promoting the Association of the Daughters of Mary and Teresa of Jesus, the Archiconfraria. And in 1874, that association was established in Godal, and Teresa Blanch, along with Teresa Pla and Dolores Llorac, two other foundresses, were some of the first members. It was on April 14th in 1876 that Father Henry, after having had many conversations with Teresa, invited her once again to go to Tarragona to join the other young women who were already studying to be teachers with Doña Magdalena Mayor. But Teresa told him no, she didn't want to be a teacher. She wanted to be a cloistered religious. And Father Henry, in his typical fashion, told her, I believe St. Teresa wants something else from you. Father Henry shared with her a written plan that he had to form an association of Catholic teachers with the spirit of St. Teresa of Jesus. And after some more conversation, she decided to go to Tarragona to join the group that was already there. And Father Henry asked her to share with him her observations of the young women who were there. So Teresa spent some time there in Tarragona, but in May 1876, when Father Henry went to visit them, she told him that she had decided to return home. She hadn't found the solitude, the time for prayer, or the interior life that she was looking for. And Father Henry, after talking to the women, tried to convince her to stay a little longer. And in her own words, she tells us, as I was saying goodbye and preparing to return to Godal, my friend Dolores began to cry bitterly. Seeing her pain, our founder father pleaded with me to stay a few days to console her. I accepted, but only for a few days. But Providence made it so that I never returned home. In June of 1876, Father Henry gave the spiritual exercises to a group of young women in Tarragona, and Teresa was one of those who joined that group of women in doing the spiritual exercises. And after the spiritual exercises, she made the commitment to join the foundation of the Society of Saint Teresa of Jesus, which began on June 23rd, 1876. She made her first vows on January 1st, 1879. In September of 1880, she was named the novice director. And on October 15th, 1882, she made her perpetual vows in the society. As one of the foundresses, Teresa quickly found herself in leadership in the society. At the chapter of 1889, she was named the Vice Superior and Visitator General, which meant that she spent a lot of time visiting schools and communities. In 1894, we find her in Mexico visiting the communities and schools there. But then in 1895, when Rosario Elias, the Superior General, was ill, Father Henry called her back to Spain to see what could be done to help the group there. That was a difficult time because Rosario didn't want to give up being Superior General, and Father Henry was trying to convince her. And for Teresa, who was supposed to replace Rosario, it must have been a very difficult and trying time. We know that Father Henry, after Christmas, made his way to Sancti Spiritu, and on January 27th, 1896, he went home forever to heaven with God. And Teresa was one of the three sisters who went to go pick up his personal belongings in Sancti Spiritu. At the chapter of December 1898, she was not elected to a leadership originally. Saturnina Hassa was elected the Superior General, but Saturnina was in Mexico working with the Religious of the Cross, and she wanted to stay to continue helping them. She proposed staying as Superior General in Mexico and working through a secretary, but the chapter didn't think that that was the wisest proposal. And so in April of 1899, at a new chapter, Teresa Blanch was elected Superior General. She served as Superior General from 1899 to 1908. Then from 1908 to 1920, she had various assignments, such as the foundation of the school in Rambla de Catalunya in Barcelona. She was also in Buenos Aires. She was still part of the General Council at this time, but she was freed to be able to be in other places. From 1920 to 1932, she served a second term as the Superior General. And then in 1932, she was elected as a General Councilor again. And she remained as a General Councilor until her death on December 25th, 1942, at the age of 88 years. Because she was in leadership for so long, we have a record of many of the accomplishments that she had that happened in the society during that time. In her first term as Superior General, the new novitiate in Tortosa was constructed and inaugurated. It was also the Jubilee, the 25th anniversary of the society in 1901. And at that time, in her leadership, there were 4 provinces in the society, including 2 in Spain, 1 in North America, and 1 in South America. The constitutions of the society were approved ad experimentum in 1903. And there were a lot of missionary movements, including a movement towards Australia, although we know that the sisters didn't stay there for more than a few years. In her second term as Superior General, Teresa Blanch oversaw the new revision of the constitutions. And in 1925, she received approval for a foundation of the society in Rome. And also in 1925, they began the process of the beatification of Henry de Osso. During her time as Superior General, they celebrated the 50th anniversary of the society. And in 1927, the first tertianship, or tercera provación, took place in Tortosa. Some of the characteristics and values of Teresa Blanch that are recorded are her prudence, her charity, especially for the little ones. It's said that she had a special affinity for the lay sisters and for the novices, for those who were in formation. She's known for her humility, for never wanting any attention to be given to her. even though she was in leadership. She wanted to be treated as one of the other sisters, and very often would show up in a surprise manner so that she would just be treated, that the sisters wouldn't do anything special for her. She's known also for her great fidelity to the spirit and charism of the society, and for repeating what Father Henry often said, the call to be a living rule. She's also noted for her strength and serenity when facing difficulties, which there were many of during her time in leadership, including difficulties with the government in Mexico and other things. She was known to be wise, firm, yet gentle. She was known to be a woman of silence and prayer, for her love for the Blessed Mother, especially Our Lady of Montserrat, and for Teresa of Jesus. She had a great spirit of sacrifice. She had lots of energy for the mission, and she had a great love for St. Henry de Oso, which she tried to instill in all of the sisters. We have many of her writings preserved. She wrote circular letters during her leadership time as Superior General. And so here are a few quotes from her writings that I thought were kind of representative of who she is. I would like to instill in the heart of each one of you an ardent love for our constitutions and their faithful observance. The greater number of years of profession does not give the religious sister any other right than that of being more humble and surrendered to obedience, more loving of poverty and mortification, more similar, in a word, to Jesus Christ crucified. My help must be the prayers and virtues of my daughters, those virtues that shone so heroically in our Holy Mother, and that our revered founder recommended so much to us. If we are zealous for the interest of Jesus, our apostolate will be fruitful, and our Holy Mother will help us and crown our desire with success. Charity in words, charity in deeds, charity in everything and for everyone. To be of one heart and one soul. There are also many testimonies of the sisters as to the kind of sister that Teresa was. One of the sisters says she was kind, gentle, good-natured, of an unwavering firmness combined with a tenderness. Another says she was silent and reserved. There were no extraordinary things in her, what the Institute prescribes, but extraordinarily well practiced. Her perfection was attainable and seemed easy to all. Of an extreme prudence, she had great faith in Providence, the cause of the peace that she reflected in her face, in her words, and in her decisions. As I had the honor and privilege of learning a little bit more about Teresa de Jesus Blanch, I found that there were several things that I admired about her, and I just want to talk about a few of them here. I admire her faithfulness to the charism of the Society of St. Teresa and her desire that each of the sisters become a living rule. I think in her life and in her writings and in who she is, we can see that her light shone brightly through a quiet leadership during which the society expanded and grew into new places throughout the world. And because of her fidelity to the charism and her personality and who she was, other sisters were able to follow in her footsteps as Teresians, and others followed them, and others followed them. And we have this long chain until this present day when there are the present Teresians who are who are striving to be faithful to the charism that has been passed on to us. We are who we are today because the charism which took root and shone out in Teresa Blanch has continued to grow and to be passed on throughout the years. I hope that you have enjoyed this presentation as much as I enjoyed preparing it. And we ask Teresa de Jesus Blanch to pray for us, to pray for the society, to pray that we may be faithful, living rules, and continue to be the Teresians that Saint Henry and Saint Teresa dream of in our world today. All for Jesus. Todo por Jesús.